Page 29, Minuet. This is a lesson on rubato. They explain it up above. There's different kinds of rubatos though. And I'm terrible at rubatos. I'm not the right person to be teaching rubato. If you really want to get a feeling of what rubato is about, go listen to a jazz singer. Because they're like stretching things out and rushing things, and they're seldom playing stuff right on the beat. It's always just, that's rubato. That's one kind of rubato. The underlying beat remains the same. It's just the melody rushes sometimes and it leans back, and sometimes that's the kind of rubato Chopin used to insist on. He would keep the rhythm very solid, but then the melody he would loosen up and rush and delay it or whatever. Other kinds of rubato is where you can actually rush everything or delay everything, but you have to be careful, because if you're not using rubato well, it just sounds like you can't keep time. I've heard a number of people do it. I used to play that, and when I realized that all it sounded like is I can't keep time, even though in my head I was feeling the rubato, it came across like that. So at that point I quit doing rubato for the most part. It's better to play just steady on the beat than mess around with it and mess it up. But experiment with rubato and see what you feel. The rubato is part of the interpreting. So when you're learning it, no rubato. We're doing everything straight here. So let's look it over. It's 1 page long. Treble and treble clef. Notice both staves are treble clef. Now the left hand, the bottom staff does change to bass clef occasionally, but it starts out treble clef. 3/4 time. There's no sharps or flats in the key signature. We're in the key of C major. You can do the scales and arpeggios for C major and A minor. Let's take it one hand at a time. I have some fingering suggestions here. Now, you think with these quarter notes it's got to go really quick. No. Actually, with the quarter notes, it's going to slow it way down, because we're just one end down. One. So you can use 5 and 4 on here, even though they're the awkward fingers. I encourage you to use them. The more you use them, the less awkward they get. So use 5 and 4 on here if you got them. Then lift up. The thumb. You got to reach up here on the little finger. So. Second line, I would prefer not to use that fingering. On the second line, I have repeated G's. So I'm going to change fingering on those. So I'm going to go 4 here. And then I can do a 2 on there. I didn't cross over that thumb. And then you want the thumb on the E. How you get there is up to you. If I use thumb, I can do a 2 on. Whatever, or since there's 2 C's there, the half note C and the 16th note C coming up, 2 C's, I can go ahead and use second finger there, here, and go, because I want to connect this here, and then they say 5. I'm going to use 4 here, just stretch out a little bit, and then 4. And then third line, they want you to do 1 and 3 on all this. I really don't recommend that. We need a stronger fingering. So we're going to use 4 different fingers here. So you're starting out with 2 and 3. Now when I get to the thumb, 4. 2, 3, 1, 4. Here. So I'm using every time I got a thumb, I just cross up and use 4, and then I'm in this position. You can do this, just do it. I don't have to go that fast, but this fingering works. It also works going up. Just switch it. I'm just from thumb to thumb. Should do it in both hands, really, so it's merit. Just merit in both hands and go both directions. it's a little weird at first, but I encourage you to work on this little bit, this pattern, because it will sure come in handy in a lot of pieces. Like here in the third line, just do that. So then go on into the third line. They want to, well, I'd prefer not to. I'm going to change fingers on the three. So I'm here, I'm just going to go 2. So it's 2. And then 4. So each time I get a repeated note, I change fingers because it helps me to stay relaxed. Again, the last measure of the third line, you're here, and then a 2, then 4, thumb 2. Then again, 2, 4, 3, 5 is what I'm doing on these. And then 4. So they're repeated notes, and I'm just changing fingers on repeated notes is all it is. I'm using the same fingering for all of these, and then I come down. Yeah, it works out. Left hand, well, let's see what it's doing. It's up here, treble clef, thumb. That's the reason, because we got to come down here with a G. That's a G. Okay. Last measure is the second line. You get bass clef. You're down here. That's an F there. You can use 5 and 4 here if you'd like, because the chord is actually this. We're not using the D, and that's the fingering, so whichever. And then at the end of the third line, treble clef in the middle, come back out. Now, last line. Here. I want to do, I have this and here. So if I can use that fingering, it helps me. This is the last beat of that first measure. The bottom notes going to the next measure. So I want to use second finger on that one. So the thumb's going to catch these. So it's, and then you can go and use their fingering if you want. They have a 3. Actually, it's easier than if you use either a 4 or a 5 on the C. This way you're in position for the 3 here. The bass clef. So again, the last line is here. And then 2, 1. Then a 5, this way I'm in position, and then just come down. Yeah. So once I have the fingering sort of worked out for the hands, then I attempt to put them together. And I'm going to hesitate all over the place. I don't care. I just want to know which fingers are working together. So we're up here, here, and here. Then I come down. Then I here. Reach up, little finger. Up here. It helps if you can get this pattern without looking at the keyboard. Eventually you can feel this. You gotta look at first, but eventually. And then you go. Now here we got here. This is the last line. First measure, and then here, there's some awkwardness going on here. So work that out, and then go back over the tough spots, probably the whole thing, and slowly work out the hesitations so you can get a steady eighth note pulse throughout the whole thing. I know it says 3/4 time where a quarter note gets a beat, but most of this has eighth notes in it, so just think of the eighth note as 1 and 2 and 3, and think of the eighth note pulse. Now once you have all that worked out, get rid of the hesitations, and we think about the articulation. So we have slurs. See the tenuto? Hang on to those. So that comes into with the rubato thing. So we'll linger on those later. Right now, just can I lift up? Connect this. But this, connect this, but this is staccato. Accent. Hopefully you get the idea. You put in the articulation and the fermata at the next last measure there. Hang on to that for a little bit, whatever feels right, and then lift up and go on. At the same speed you were going. Now, don't slow down any, same speed you were going. And then the dynamics. MP, mezzo piano, mainly the right hand. Swell, ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da. You're doing the same thing. You're a little louder and come down. Go. And then go up. They don't tell you how much to go up. Go up to about a moderately loud in here. And then very soft. Yeah, just very soft and delicate. Now when I get this type of a thing, where it's staccato and it's soft and delicate, I want to use smaller muscles. I don't want to use the wrist here and do the staccato this way. So I'm going to use finger staccato. I'm going to pluck the keys. You can't pluck it with the thumb sideways, you got to do that, but otherwise I'm plucking it. I'm holding, bump, bump, bump. I'm just doing that very gently. Just get louder. And then come back down. Dolce, there at the end of the third line, sweetly. Oh. And then very softly. Then the right hand. Left hand's very, very soft. Yeah. It's a sweet piece if you can get the delicateness under control. And now the speed, adagio con grazia, is slowly with grace, graciousness, graciously doing it. Well, I need more coffee for that. But it's a slow piece. So these 1 and you're thinking more on eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and, but don't drag it. Now they've added pedal. I suppose if you want, I'm not crazy about it. You're not using pedal everywhere. We want to hear the articulation in the right hand, a lot of this, but they're using it at the beginning. So I said, okay, if you want to use it, I suppose. At the beginning, it's push the notes down first and then the pedal, and change it after you play. I like this. I'd like to be able to hear that. Well, if I'm going to do that, I got to pedal with it. Here, so it's, so I'm going to adjust the pedal just a little bit. Lift up, lift up. I'm lifting the pedal up with the right hand. Third line down, last measure, here. I want to hear, I want a little bit of silence in there. So I'm lifting the pedal up with the hands on the second beat. Like so. Now pedal in the fermata note and then pedal at the end. You have to experiment with the pedal and the sound and how is the pedal affecting your sound and adjust it. As far as the rubato goes, I'll leave that up to you and your teachers. You can linger on these two neutral notes, drag them out. You decide on the rubato and how you do that. Just enjoy.